Hi, good morning. Uh, this is Abhinay here. I'm, I'm connecting from Sweden. And today we have a special guest. His name is Sahil Rohmehtra. And he's a very famous trader from India. He has achieved a lot of success in the stock market. But today we are not going to talk about money. Today we are going to talk about a science that I am personally very curious about, and it's the area of astrology. So, welcome, Sahil.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Abhinay. I'm very happy to meet you. And let's I love the subject very much. So I'm happy to speak on that subject with someone who's happy to learn about that subject. So on this day of Akshay Tritiya, let's start and wishing the best to you in your efforts and your viewers also. Yes.
Thank you. So, like Sahil mentioned, that today is Akshay Tritiya, and Akshay Tritiya is something that's determined by the planetary positions as well. And have always been curious. All these dates they change in every year. It's not the same date every year. So what this Akshay Tritiya is all about? Like, what is its significance? What exactly that means?
Yeah. So basically, in order, Tritiya is a tithi. Tithi is basically a lunar day.
Okay.
So it's the third lunar day. And the title Akshay is attached to it because of certain significations that this lunar day has on activities we initiate on this day. Now, in order to understand that signification, we have to understand a little bit about the planetary positions. So, when we talk about the planets, the sun, moon, etc., sun and moon are considered as grahas, and grahas loosely
Hmm.
translate planet. So, what graha basically means in Sanskrit is to take control. So,
Hmm.
Graha refers to those celestial objects which take control over your day-to-day life. And in that,
Hmm.
sun and moon are included. In that, even the north and the south pole of the moon, which we recognize as Rahu and Ketu, are included. And in our
Hmm.
Shastras itself, they would have defined that Arun and Varun, which is Neptune and Pluto, do not take control because I think they take several hundred years in order to complete one revolution around the sun. And in that much time, the person's lifespan is basically past. So they do not
Hmm.
transit generally very often in one's career, one's entire lifetime. So they don't have that kind of influence. So all of Vedic Jyotish, which I will come to, is derived from what is known as Drik Panchang. Drik means something that is visible. And
Drik, like
Drishti, yeah,
drishti.
has to be visible.
Yeah.
And Panchang means Panch means five, and Ang means
Hmm.
parts, limbs.
Parts. Hmm.
So Panchang is something which is known as the five limbs of time.
Hmm.
Okay, and in the five limbs of time, there is basically Yog, Var, Karan, Nakshatra, and Tithi.
Hmm.
Okay, and when we are talking about Akshay Tritiya, we are referring to one Tithi, a particular Tithi where Tithi is a lunar day. I don't want to make it sound too complex for the first time viewer, but now, but still, I'll just come to the key point here. So, in other words, Tritiya refers to a particular lunar day, and Tritiya, all of these Tithis are categorized into five clusters. Five clusters. They are Nanda, Bhadra, Jaya, Rikta, and Purna. Okay, Nanda, Bhadra, Jaya, Rikta, and Purna. Nanda means happiness,
Hmm.
Bhadra means praying, Jaya
Hmm.
means victory, Rikta means
Hmm.
throw away, and
Hmm.
to complete. Okay,
Hmm.
so whenever we have the first tithi, which is Pratipada in our language, and you can simply say first tithi in English, that is always going to be under the cluster of Nanda.
Hmm.
Okay, Dvitiya, which is the second tithi, will always be Bhadra. Tritiya will
Hmm.
always be Jaya. And
Hmm.
Chaturthi will always be Rikta, and Panchmi will always be Purna. And then the
Hmm.
Shtami, which is the sixth Tithi, will again come in the cluster of Nanda. Saptami
Hmm.
will again come in the cluster of Bhadra. Ashtami,
Hmm.
Jaya. Now, typically, when you are engaging with Jaya Tithi, you initiate those activities where you want a victory, where you want to
Hmm.
now, but so which means this is true for every Tritiya. every
Hmm.
you could say the 13th tithi, ठीक है, त्रायोदाशी, 13th tithi
Trayadashi. Hmm.
will always be a Jaya Tithi, which means if you want to go and file a court case, if you want to send a legal notice, if you want to reply to a legal notice, if you any activity where you're seeking victory, you want to ask for a promotion, you want to get that job in that the so what the muhurats are telling you, it is auspicious to initiate activity or to channel your energy on that activity on that day. Choose
Hmm.
competition. But now, what is so there are obviously many Tritias and Ashtamis and Trayodashis. What is special about Akshay Tritiya is that it is the only specific time where sun and moon both are in exaltation. Okay, both
Hmm.
are in astrological phenomena called exaltation. And what is
What is exalt? Yeah.
yeah, exaltation basically means that zodiac in which the planet is at its happiest.
Hmm.
Okay, the planet loves to be there. It is very happy to be there. So that particular zodiac will be Sun in Aries and Moon in Taurus, because Sun
Hmm.
exalts in Aries and Moon exalts in Taurus. So what
Hmm.
they are basically saying is that whenever Sun and Moon exalt at the same time, okay, it will necessarily there will necessarily be the third lunar day. It'll necessarily, and that third lunar day shall be called as Akshay Tritiya, because these two major grahas are at their happiest. And if these
Hmm.
two major grahas are at their happiest, they say any activity you wish to initiate, any activity, the Muhurat is auspicious. So if you are
Hmm.
a car, it'll be a good Muhurat for buying a car. If you are to
Hmm.
decide on buying real estate, it's a good Muhurat because everywhere you're seeking victory. And now compare this to a tithi which is associated with marriage. Now, the Purna Tithi, which is going to be Panchami, Dashmi, and Purnima, the 5, 10, and 15. Now, when a person marries, they typically want to get married only once, which
Right.
means you want the activity which you want to do, it's an auspicious activity, but with that which you want to do just once in your life, you will
Hmm.
initiate it in the Purna Tithi. For
Hmm.
example, registration for a GMAT or a GRE exam, or paying the fees for your board exams, you don't want to give that specific exam again, a CA exam.
Hmm.
You have
Hmm.
a date to go online to check, like if you're giving a GMAT exam or a GRE exam, you choose your date, right? So,
Hmm.
so the day on which you go to make that choice should be a Purna Tithi, and the date that you choose for the exam should be a Jaya Tithi.
Hmm.
Right? So essentially, now this is a recommendation. So point being that whenever in the Western concept of time works in the position of sun and moon with relative to earth. That is it.
Hmm.
The Indian concept of time works with the position of earth relative to all the nine celestials. Where the nine celestials are the seven planets, sun, moon, and you have your other planets from Mars
Hmm.
to Saturn, and the north and south pole of the moon. That is the
Hmm.
Indian concept of time. Now, because the Western concept of time uses just these two variables, they segregate time as day and night only. So they
Hmm.
classification that okay, this is nighttime, it is auspicious to sleep. It is daytime, it is auspicious to go out and do some work. It is evening time, it is auspicious to play. See, you could play at midnight also, but
Right.
when is it most auspicious for the body? For example, it could be early morning or it could be little late evening.
Right.
So this is because they have these variables associated with time. But because the Indians and the Hindu tradition has a lot of variables associated with time, they could come up with that it is auspicious now to buy a car. It is auspicious
Right.
now to propose a settlement on a legal case. It is auspicious now to visit the bank. So what that basically does is it creates a schedule for the follower. Okay.
Right.
It creates a schedule for the follower, and now it is the follower who basically tries to take control of that schedule and inadvertently ends up taking control of their life. So, for example, today we are talking, today is a
Yeah.
Wednesday, and Wednesday, Budh is associated with green. So I'm wearing a green.
Hmm. Mm-hmm.
So now, because I wear a green t-shirt on Wednesday, I'll wear a yellow t-shirt on a Thursday, and so on and so forth. My entire cupboard gets arranged like that.
Nice.
When I go out to shop, I don't think about buying a shirt. I don't have a formal shirt for Tuesday, so I'm automatically looking at red colors.
Hmm.
If suppose, let us say you have a function at your residence, and let us say it is on a Sunday, and you are saying wear traditional Indian and come. And
Hmm.
I automatically know sun colors are golden, orange, crimson, red, and I don't have a traditional for that day. So I will go with a very clear agenda that I am buying this for this day.
Mm-hmm.
And that sort of removes the element of paralysis due to analysis of what should I buy. It's
Right.
been narrowed down to a great extent, and you have gone there with a clear agenda. And then the factor, if I value price, I will choose the lowest price in that color. If I value quality, I might choose the best quality in that color. Now, here individual subjectivities will come into play, but our actions are so well decided.
Right. So basically, what you're suggesting is we get a template of arranging ourselves to the celestial bodies in a way with astrology. Um, so when you said something that uh, in the Indian concepts, it's Earth's position relative to these nine celestials. Uh, so if I have to understand this, like how does this impact me individually? It's a very fundamental stupid question I have about astrology. Like, say I'm sitting here on a chair. How do these planets connect to me? What is their connection to me?
We are already connected through planets directly. You're sitting on this chair,
Hmm.
that is right, but you're talking to me on a subject of astrologer. Now, there are two ways.
Right.
One way is that I'm talking to a guy called Sahil. The other
Yeah.
way is that this is your your Jupiter interacting with you just now.
Right.
All right. Now, if you treat me in the manner which is appropriate for treating Jupiter, who's
Right.
Jupiter is a teacher. So if
Right.
you treat me in a manner which is appropriate for treating a teacher, you are going to derive the maximum success out of this.
Right.
But if you go and treat me in the manner which is like, say, Venus, which is a spouse, for example, or Mercury, which is like
Right.
friend, it is now no longer going to be appropriate for the conversation at hand.
Right.
So the point being that over the sessions that we conduct, I you will see that these planets are already impacting you.
Right.
All right. And uh, and it'll be without any doubt. For example, for me, if I'm having a conversation with a person who is less aware of the subject than me, I am interacting with a student which is Mercury. I am
Right.
interacting with Mercury. So what I am
Right.
interacting with Mercury, what you are interacting with is Jupiter. Now, if we both behave appropriately, we are using technology to interact. We are doing this via Rahu, right?
Right. So
So
Rahu is illusion, or what? What is
yeah,
Rahu?
so Rahu is the north pole of the moon, and what it basically refers to is illusion, smoke, uh,
Creativity.
absolutely, yes, excessive creativity. So a classic
Mm.
example of Rahu could be like, say, for example, you hear a small child, like say 6-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old boy, and they come and say ki, there is a lion in the lobby or a tiger.
Yeah.
You could shoo it off, or you could now
Yeah.
ask the child questions. Really, how big is the lion or a tiger, whatever? He will
Right.
describe how big it is.
Right.
How was he behaving? He will mimic the walk. Okay.
Right.
Now, obviously, we all know that the child is lying, but from the child's perspective, he's not lying.
Right.
He's convinced to some extent that there is indeed a lion. And the more you probe that question about the lion,
Right.
the more realistic the child begins to feel that there is that lion. Now, that illusion and that kind of creativity to imagine a lion in thin air
Right.
is coming out from Rahu. So this is the element
Right.
of Rahu in children, which is obvious to us, and this element of Rahu is there in all of us. It just manifests
Right.
itself in different forms. So an exceptionally malefic Rahu in adults will make them smokers, will make them use
Mm-hmm.
language, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, that is a malefic Rahu. If it becomes even more malefic, they could even begin to start committing crime, petty crime. But if now
Mm-hmm.
that malefic Rahu is now also having an exceptionally malefic Mars, that petty crime could start taking a violent turn.
So
So
Mars is Mercury. No,
Mars,
Mars,
Mars is Mangal.
Mangal. Yeah,
Mars basically is your Tuesday. So the Mars,
exactly.
yeah. So Mars is the planet of war, basically, your planet of courage. So if
Mm-hmm.
a person has an exceptionally Yog Karak Mars, Yog
Mm.
means auspiciously placed, very powerful, many positive things in the chart. Usually, that person achieves great success in athletic endeavors,
Mm.
physical activities. They could be your mountaineers, they could be your adventure sports athletes, they could be your cricketers, football players. Basically, if you, for example, we all run as children, but there is this one or two boys and girls. When you race against them, you feel you're racing against another species. You know,
Mm.
like and it's not like they have gone through some sort of Olympic training or something to get there. They are exactly your age, 8, 10, 11, 12, 15. But if you're racing with them, you're sprinting 100 meters. I don't remember what was my timing, but maybe I was very slow. So I was maybe in 12th standard, I was not that slow, but maybe I was like, say, maybe 13 or 12.8 seconds. I was actually a 1500-meter runner in my 12th standard. And so I just sprinted the 100-meter with the person who sprints 100 meters. And that person clocks typically 11 and a half seconds. Now it looks like it is just 1.5 second difference. But when you're physically racing that person, it is embarrassing.
Yeah.
Just pure embarrassment. That 1.5 second looks like he's a mile away on the race field. You know, it's
Right.
almost like it's a race between some. It's just it's not of the same cluster anymore. It's like a horse versus a donkey kind of a race. So it becomes very apparent, and
Right.
that huge kind of physical strength uh, and success in physical endeavors comes from Mars, and that is only going to come if you, Mars is the karak of blood, if you shed blood for the right cause in your past life. All right, and the
Mm.
corollary of it is also true that in the event, just silence my phone, that in
Yeah.
that in the
I'll also silence my phone. Sorry. Yeah.
that in the event in your past lives, if there was a
Yeah.
and you were to supposed to be on the battlefield, you did not go, you know, you did not shed your blood, then in this lifetime you get a very malefic Mars,
Mm.
and the malefic Mars wants that quota of blood which is due, and that is the
Mm.
reason why astrologers, if they see a very malefic Mars in the chart, they will recommend please go and donate your blood, because
Mm.
Mars is certainly going to take that blood. So
Mm.
Mars takes it his way, it could be through an accident or by
Mm.
force. So it is better you take cognizance of the fact that you did not give blood where it was due. So why don't you just go on a random Tuesday to a hospital and donate your blood off?
Mm-hmm.
But the but people who basically donate blood and who have a auspicious Mars, like Mars is the a karak of the physical body. If you're Aries or if you're Scorpio, Mars is representing physical body, and you go and donate blood, you'll start falling sick
Mm.
because you are donating physical body. So this aspect of what you should donate, of what you should wear, and what are the most appropriate moments to initiate and close certain activities are usually an astrologer tries to assist you in that process. And since this process
Right.
is so academic and so much fun, the intention of this is to be able to transmit a certain level, basic level of information to the viewers so they could be astrologers for themselves. Because what I learned is that in order to analyze my own horoscope, I had to create a framework which would be applicable to all. So I am here to just share that framework over a period of time, covering some basic aspects of planets, so that individuals can be their own astrologers, uh, and then once they then maybe if their hobby persists and if their passion persists, then maybe they could add service to the set of people that they are engaging with, is largely because astrology is the only topic where you are actually talking to the person, but you're talking to the person as a part of a frame.
Planet. Exactly.
So I'm not telling you, Abhinay, that you are good or you are bad. What I will be saying is that because you have a Venus Mahadasha, and Venus is the Karak of, let's say, creativity, is the Karak of sensory pleasures. All the five senses, the sense of hearing, that is through music, the sense of smell, your perfumes and cosmetics, your sense of touch, physical intimacy, your sense of taste, great food, and basically all your five senses essentially. Our Venus is the custodian of that. So
Mm.
Venus is the performer.
Mm.
If Venus is the performer of fine arts. So your Mahadasha is most conducive for performing fine arts.
Mm.
You naturally align with it, which you will naturally align with it. Now, there is obviously a possibility that you could continue your work in a corporate sector, but even there, you will be organizing gigs.
Mm.
All right. So essentially, what happens is that when you are working in alignment with the planet and
Mm.
you look to monetize that alignment in which you are with the planet, you could accomplish significant success.
Mm.
Because, anyways, it is that planet's Mahadasha. Anyways, that planet has an exaggerated influence on you. So, Venus Mahadasha will last for 20 years, for example, from the date of its starting. And so, now logically, for 20 years, it is saying that go ahead in the fields of performing arts.
Mm.
And now, what will happen is you'll find partnerships, you'll find networks much easily than compared to, say, for example, some other endeavor. Let's say you were constructing a bridge. Now, that is completely different. Even you could make money and a life from that also, but that is not really related to Venus now.
Mm.
So that is where you'll feel a little stuck. You'll feel like, what am I doing with my life? I'm not at the right.
Mm.
My boss is not good, or my subordinates are not good. Actually, they are all reasonable. It's just you're not
Aligned with the.
aligned. And that irritation that is coming from the planet itself. Now, agar Venus, which Venus, who is a creator of fine arts, उसको आपने ब्रिज में डाल दिया है या फैक्ट्री में डाल, Venus is not happy there. No, no. So that is what it means. Exaltation, the point that we made earlier. Exaltation means that place where the planet is the happiest. The planet loves,
Right.
and if
Right.
the planet is happy, individuals who are working in that direction are generally going to be feeling happy. Their mood is
Right.
being elevated, and a lot of things. Like for example, you walk down the stairs 100,000 times, sometimes thoughtfully, sometimes subconsciously. Why don't we slip and fall? you know so that element, we are only we associate good luck with that phase which happens to us, like I won the lottery. But
Mm.
how about that, job interview which got cancelled, and you were apparently supposed to go to a place where you were to get mugged. You just kept thinking ki, my job interview got cancelled, but someone actually protected you from grave physical harm.
Right.
That is the reason why they say that it's best if one is optimistic. If it's best that one believes that the world has your best interest in mind. It
Right.
is best if you use your sound judgment to know whom to trust to some extent. And what does meaning of trust mean? What is the definition of the boundary of trust? And
Right.
yeah, and if I feel that I'm dealing with Mercury, I would be, if I'm dealing with, let's say you were a judge of a high court or a Supreme Court of Sweden, then I'm dealing with here with Sun now. I have to be respectful. Sun is the king, actually. I have to call him sir.
Right.
That is when I am going to gain my most. But if I
Right.
treating Sun as Mercury, the person is going to feel like I'm not valued here. I'm going to absolutely show this person his place now.
Right.
So if we already know whom we are dealing with, then you don't see him as a boss. You see him as the physical manifestation of Sun himself, of your Sun. That is why
Right.
in front of you, right?
Right. So the way I understand this is like these these planets are basically like our personality traits in a way, that the combination of different characteristics of our personality are connected to the planets. and they're connected. We are connected to them through our birth chart. This is the Kundalini, right?
Yeah.
And when we deal with people, we also basically deal with these personas that these planets represent. And then if we, I mean, it's really interesting because this is how we usually deal with people as well, right? So if you see someone in the position of authority, we give them respect. And if there is a creative child, for example, we ask them questions. I just didn't connect it to planets in this way. Uh, so then my next question is, uh, which is again the a fundamental question here. Like I understand how these planets are affecting me, but then to know what position is placed where relevant to me, there is something called as Kundali, and I see it like a square with a lot of boxes in it, and some numbers and some letters written on it. But for me, it's some sort of a occult science, and I always need someone to interpret me. So if you can explain me what a Kundali is like, what's the idea behind a Kundali and what it represents, that would be really cool.
Yeah. So you are fully aware of the world map, right?
Right.
It's a two-dimensional structure representation of a 3D object, right?
Object. Right.
Similarly, a Kundli is just that, a two-dimensional representation of a 3D object. But instead
Hmm.
of having, let's say, India or Sweden on that particular map, they have, they are saying that this is Earth and here is Jupiter and here is Mercury and here
Hmm.
is. So there is no doubt that we are looking at a 3D, this is a 3D visual, which is now captured in a 2D format. And there are templates for capturing it into that 2D format. So the diagonals and the square boxes that you are referring to are templates. And the good
Hmm.
thing about that template is that this template has been passed down to us. There is no person in the world who can say, I created it. Not a person.
Hmm.
No one takes ownership of it. They all
Hmm.
accept that it is coming down from some source and we do not know what exactly is the source. So if you ask me where I learned it from, I learned it from someone, and you ask him, he learned it from someone. And
Someone.
this process just kept on going, and no one knows exactly who was the first person. So
Hmm.
exactly who the first person was, obviously Maharishi Parashar, who created that template, which then got understood, and you and us, we used our intelligence in order to simplify it for everyone and for its utility to everyone. So this, perhaps this is something that we can, I could show it on a particular chart and talk about this in our next video, because I'm seeing that
Next search. Yeah.
just have like a 1.5 minute time left. So, we could, I'll share the link with you for that meeting, and you could just rephrase that question, and that could be the start of our next video. Um, and I'll share
That's fantastic.
of a website where your viewers can eventually, which they can eventually use in order to see their own kundli, and then use our conversation to navigate through their own kundli, and take it as a, think of it that they are having a conversation with Maharishi Parashar directly, and we are just we are the agents in,
Mediums.
mediums in between, that
Right.
based on our understanding of his framework, this is what it means. And so, yeah, so it's less than a minute. I'll just close this and we can take this up from there.
Yeah. Thank you for today, and we
Yeah.
build on this
We'll schedule.
conversation in the future.
Take care.
Yeah. Yeah. Bye bye. Bye.